Gainz, Xtreme. Shit we see, Xtreme. You wanna know about corruption? Well, listen to what I see. An algorithmic money making, taking, flooding, fucking scheme. And if you let it, you'll get it. It'll gut you till you bleed. A lot of y'all get fucked by the bucket, yet you think it's free. Yeah, it's me. We are team Xtreme.
What's up, y'all? What's up, YouTube? What's up, Xtreme Gainz family? I'm Chuck, and this is Xtreme Gainz. I am not a financial advisor. Nothing I say is or ever will be financial advice. Please do not take it as such. Today is Thursday, December 8th, 2022, and this is my AMC, GME, and SPY Thursday daily update and preparation video for tomorrow and beyond. As always, I hope you all had a great day in the market both yesterday and today. More importantly, I hope you made some extreme gains for yourselves. I'm going to go over all of my regulars tonight, my snake algo method for all three tickers, some macro comparatives, and some side-by-side projections from Tuesday's update and prep video, and the fulfillment of those projections with both yesterday and today's price action. So with all of that said, let's dig in. I'm going to dive right into the charts, y'all. Currently on your screen is AMC and my current intra-week snake. AMC finished the day today up 0.33% in regular trading hours, currently up an additional 0.74% in after hours, trading at 612. The current intra-week snake on your screen in red is the day prior to the previous divergence from and completion of fulfillment of the previous intra-week snake in blue that you see here behind it. You can see that once again yesterday and today, price action continued to fulfill the current intra-week snake as it was projecting damn near candle for candle. Here's the side-by-side from Tuesday's update and prep video. The location of price action within it, the projection from it, and the dead-on fulfillment of it with both yesterday and today's price action. You can see what the projection is from it moving forward into tomorrow and beyond if price action were to continue to fulfill it. Then from a technical perspective, the same levels are still intact, looking for a potential bounce back upside to the 681. If it were to breach the 681 to the upside, then the 790 will be the next level I'm looking at. However, if it fails to bounce back up there and continues a downside move here, the next level down I'm looking at will be down here at the 547 critical level of support. And likewise, if it were to make that move back up to the 680 and reject off of it and back down, I'd be looking at that same thing. And that is everything that I am looking at from a technical perspective and from the intra-week snake on AMC. The macro comparative, as you know, I've been using the previous double bottom from prior to the January 2021 run up for an entire year now that projected this low of $5 a year ago. And we have continued to fulfill the projection of this macro projected suggested path throughout that entire year. And we have diverted to the downside away from that continued upside projection as it was showing. I have the intra-week snake on here. I told you all I'd continue to track this and show it to you, but obviously I talked about this in the Tuesday update and prep video, and even prior to that leading into this in case this happened. It is projecting a direct downside inverted mirrored projection away from what the macro comparative is showing upside, and it's showing it downside here, and we've obviously fell out of that continued upside fulfillment to the downside now, and it looks like that is potentially what's coming to fruition. So that is all it's really to say about that, and that is how I am looking at it for the time being. That's everything for AMC that I'm looking at. Up next is GME. GME finished the day today as projected, up 11.37% in regular trading hours, currently down 0.08% in after hours, trading at 24.77. The current intra-week snakes that I am tracking are on your screen in red and blue. Blue is the day of divergence. Red is the day prior to the previous divergence from the previous intra-week snake. And you can see that once again today and yesterday, price action continued to fulfill the projection from both of them simultaneously as they both were showing. Here's the side-by-side from Tuesday's update and prep video. The location of price action within it, the projection from it, and the dead-on continued fulfillment of it with both yesterday and today's price action. You can see what the projection is from both of them moving forward into tomorrow and beyond if price action were to continue to fulfill them. Then from a technical perspective, the same levels are still intact. I talked about the breach of the 25 to downside. I'd be looking for a move directly down to the previous critical level of support at 2170, just like it had done previously here, and that's exactly what happened. So I'll be looking for that now 25 to act as resistance if the intra-week snakes are to continue to fulfill, and I'll be looking for that move right back down to that 2170. If the 2170 were to breach the downside, the next level down I'm looking at will be 1948. However, if the upside fulfillment today continues and we get a breach of the 25 back upside, I'll be looking at the 2630, right around where the macro ascending level of support runs through there as the next potential level of resistance. A breach of that, and then obviously the 2780 again. And if by chance we breach that, I'll be looking at the 2975 or 2980 macro neckline up here as the next one to the upside as well. And that is everything that I am looking at with GME. Last but not least is SPY. SPY finished the day today. Regular trading hours up 0.78%. Currently even Steven in after hours trading at 396.25. The current intra-week snakes that I've been tracking are orange the day prior to and blue the day of the previous divergence from and completion of fulfillment of the previous intra-week snake. The day prior to intra-week snake I had in this position right here, projecting that continuation to downside, and it's very obvious we did not continue to the downside. We did not get this neckline breach that I had talked about for this top formation back downside yet. And you can see where we are within that, and an obvious non-continuation of fulfillment as it was showing in that position. I'm going to show you something here in a second. There's the side-by-side of it showing that continuation to downside, and then the obvious bounce back up off of that lower neckline to downside support. However, if it were still to remain in this position, I do personally think it is still in range and intact to potentially continue fulfilling to the downside. Obviously, it would require a breach of that lower neckline and the macro ascending level of support, which I'll give you levels on here in a second, if it were to continue to fulfill that. But what I really wanted to do is show you a little horizontal extension of this, just like that. And you can see if I do that to encompass all of the movements throughout this top, what we get is a candle for candle fulfillment throughout, a quick mirroring of the downside projection here in an upside manner for the second top. Then we converge back with it for candle, downside here, and then prior to it bouncing back upside for this top box shape here that it was showing, we ended up coming cross-cornered, breaching that downside, and potentially now mirroring that to the downside instead of fulfilling it to the upside. So I think there is some validity to potentially view this as that moving forward. And if that were the case, it would project the exact same thing as what it would if I left it here and continued to allow it to potentially fulfill to the downside moving into possibly tomorrow and or Monday is probably all the further I would allow that to go had I left it in the more compressed position. I'm just not quite ready to invalidate this yet. I'm not sold on the fact that it's completely invalidated. So I wanted to give you a little bit more in depth as to what I'm thinking when it comes to this and what I had looked at with it as a potential alternate position encompassing all of those movements. And I do believe it still remains intact if I do that. So obviously the projection from that would be the exact same as if it was in the compressed position, a continuation to downside, and obviously sooner than later. Then I have the day of divergence, the blue one. And the day of divergence started out in its mirrored position, fulfilling when I first clipped it and placed it. And here is that position right here. And you can see the fulfillment of it as we started out throughout all of this. And then we mirrored a little bit here for that second top again, just like the day prior to. And then this is where we really saw the mirroring happen, where it was projecting that downside and it ran upside directly opposite and inverted as it was showing downside. So in that scenario, excuse me, I clipped this and turned it back into its straight up position to show that mirroring and the projection moving forward from it, and it has continued to fulfill in that straight up position as it's placed there. In that position, you can see that both yesterday and today's price action continued to fulfill its projection as it was shown. Here's the side by side from Tuesday's update and prep video. Our location of price action within it, the upside projection from it, and like I said, the continued dead on fulfillment of it in that position. You can see what the projection would be from it moving forward into tomorrow and beyond if price action were to continue to fulfill it in this position. Now, likewise, I looked at this in its mirrored position as well again, and I want to show you something with this just like the day prior to. If I put this back in its mirrored position, its originally fulfilled position as it was placed right out of the gate, it looks like we have potentially converged back with it right here, and I do think that that is a possible valid placement for it right now. You can see that we would have had the continued fulfillment throughout here, the mirroring still exists here, and now a potential convergence back with it. So if this were to reject off of its internal micro neckline or prior to getting back up here to the previous top, and I have a midline top in here that I'm going to go over as far as the level with you, I think it could be valid to see this thing reject off of that, come back downside, therefore breaching both the ascending level of support and that lower neckline for a convergence back with it and a continued fulfillment of it to the downside. So I am also looking at it like that, moving into specifically tomorrow and beyond. Probably tomorrow and Monday, just like the intra week, is all the further I would probably want to allow this to go before obviously invalidating it in this position. And definitely if we continue upside in that straight up fulfillment and the projection of that fulfillment, I should say, then obviously this position of it would be invalid as well. So you can see the obvious projection from it if price action were to continue to fulfill it in that position as well. Then from a technical perspective, as I promised, looking at these previous levels that I had previously talked about with you, the two necklines on the downside here, to the downside, we had the upper neckline here and then the lower neckline. We obviously found significant support at the lower neckline, so I'm more concerned with that. So if this were to reject, like I said, and come back downside, I'd be looking for a breach of the 391 to downside, and then ultimately the macro ascending level of support here at around 389.50 to downside, and then that opens up a move from there, as I explained before, from there back down to the previous critical level of support at around 355. However, if this bounce were to continue to fulfill to the upside, the next significant level that I'll be looking at will be the 399.30, and then above that, a breach above that, I'll be looking at the 403.50 for that previous top. And that is everything from that perspective, or all those perspectives, on SPY. Last but not least is the macro comparative from the 2008-2009 correction and crash in the most recent position that I have been tracking it in. We've been tracking and looking at this both in the straight up and the mirrored position in an attempt to potentially prep for this macro double-double reversal to upside if it were to get back up here and breach that macro neckline of that macro W formation. And in the straight up position, the same thing still remains. It would require a heavy downside move and a convergence back with this for it to continue to fulfill to the downside as it's projecting in the straight up position. In the mirrored position, however, it has continued to fulfill as it was projecting, and yesterday and today were no different. You can see where we're at within it, the continued fulfillment of it, and what the projection is from it moving forward into tomorrow and beyond if price action were to continue to fulfill it. My friends, my family, that is everything I have that I am looking at personally with all three tickers moving into tomorrow and beyond. And that is everything that I have for this video. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you very much. Don't forget to smash the like button on the way out. Leave me some comments. Let me know how y'all did yesterday. Those of you that weren't in the live stream would love to hear from you. Obviously, those of you that were in the live stream, this is our video that we get to do our bragging in the comments. So I'd love to hear from all of y'all that were at the live stream yesterday. I know we had a pretty kick-ass day there as well. Hopefully you all had just as good of a day today as well. Have a great weekend this weekend. I'll have an update and prep video out on Sunday for the weekly update and prep. Good luck in the markets tomorrow. Make some extreme gains for yourselves, and I will talk to you all on the next one. Later.